Hey guys, so I had mentioned in a previous video that I was going to give you all an update on some of the church drama that is still going on. For those of you who are new to my channel or may not know the backstory to this, last year, starting in September of last year, so about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I started working as a church secretary at a Lutheran church in town. And the pastor of that church was also the pastor of the church that I would attend, which is not Lutheran, but is Presbyterian. So after I got COVID around Easter, the pastor was kind of playing games with me as far as like I was trying to figure out when I was going to be able to go back to work. And she ended up saying that they couldn't continue to pay me because of their financial issues. And so I no longer had a job at the church. But she strung me along for a good couple of weeks before telling me this. Like, she kept trying to tell me that, I needed to have a negative COVID test. And so I think the fact that like I continued to test positive for so long after having COVID, even though her and another church employee who had tested positive for COVID either before me or the same time as me, had already returned to work within 5 days of testing positive without having a negative COVID test. I was let go due to financial issues of the Lutheran church. So to continue this whole little dramatic story, there's been quite a bit of stuff happening. My godmother is now a session member, which is kind of like a church council for the Presbyterian church, who is still the pastor that fired me or let me go, whatever, is still the pastor of the Presbyterian church and the Lutheran church. They are actually closing the Lutheran church now. I think I had talked about in previous videos too how the two churches had been discussing like whether to consolidate into one church or, figure out what they were going to do to financially be able to continue to run both congregations. So the Lutherans have decided now to completely close their church, at least for this winter, and rent out worship space from another location. So at this point, they're trying to figure out like if the Presbyterian congregation would be okay with them renting out space to worship in. Over the summer, they were having worship services together. As far as like Presbyterian and Lutheran, they were having church services at the same time. Now, what's been going on as far as like dramatic stuff is that, like I said, my godmother is on the church session, and there have been quite a few different conversations where my godmother has suggested like doing a survey of congregation members, because there have been quite a few different congregation members who have voiced concerns, or like some of them have voiced concerns and some of them were more willing to share their opinions, but not vocally. Like they would be fine with writing it down and sharing it confidentially, but not in front of everybody else. And I think some of that has to do with like not wanting to hurt the feelings of the pastor or not wanting to offend her in any way, which I think is kind of crappy. So my godmother suggested like sending out a confidential survey asking the congregation members what they want, because it's basically at this point seeming like the pastor is just trying to do what's in her best interest and not necessarily what's in the best interest of either congregation, or what's like what either congregation actually wants to do moving forward. It's more like what the pastor wants and what she wants, and that's it. It's not really taking into consideration the feelings or the opinions of either congregation. And so there's been a lot of frustration on my godmother's end, on other session members' ends, on my godmother's sister's end. Like, I don't know. And then the pastor wanted to have a private conversation with my godmother, because my godmother is very angry with her. Like, she is seeing all these red flags with the pastor, and she doesn't really want to continue having her as the pastor anymore. She doesn't think that we can trust her as a congregation. And I say we, but I haven't actually been to church since Easter because, first of all, I was angry about it. And then secondly, like, I don't feel like I can trust this pastor, just the fact that she strung me along for so long, like for weeks, instead of just letting me know, like, hey, like, even I have said this in previous videos, I would not have been so upset and angry and hurt about them having to let me go if they would have just said, hey, you know, I just want to let you know, give you a heads up that we are having this discussion and we may have to eliminate your position because of financial reasons, which I already knew that the congregation was having financial issues. But like I said, she just let me believe that there were, you know, I still had my job until, you know, after stringing me along, she decided to say, no, I don't. So the drama continues, and my godmother has actually been sending out emails and things of that nature. It's been a whole mess. Like, the pastor would not allow my godmother to send out a survey because, again, that would open up other options or let the congregation members know that there are other options available. The pastor really just wants them to either, well, she wants them to vote not tomorrow, Sunday, but the next Sunday, wants the congregation to vote on continuing the shared ministry agreement between the Lutheran church that she pastors and the Presbyterian church. And she also wants the Presbyterian congregation to vote on whether to allow the Lutheran congregation to rent worship space from them for the winter. So it's a lot going on. And honestly, like, I haven't been to church since Easter because, like I said, I was angry at first, but now I just feel like it's very unchristian-like the way that she is conducting business and the way that she is presenting herself. And like, my godmother has let me read certain emails between the pastor and the Presbytery, whatever it is, the COM. If you're Presbyterian, you might know what that means. But some of the ways that this pastor has talked about my godmother is just like very unprofessional, very unchristian-like, definitely not acting like a pastor at all, like making it seem like my godmother is going behind her back to try to survey the congregation. But like my godmother said, you know, how is the church session or the church council supposed to move forward in any way when they don't really know what the congregation members actually want? And there's some elderly congregation members that, like I said, don't feel comfortable sharing their opinions out loud in front of other people. They would rather prefer to share their opinions confidentially, which you can't really blame them for that. And then also the pastor is wanting to say that congregation members only have a voice, and like they're only allowed to share their opinion if they actually show up to the meeting, which isn't right, because there's certain congregation members that don't even live in the local area. And I feel like if you're a congregation member, you're paying, like, you're making payments, you're sending in offerings to the church, you're still a congregation member, whether you're local or not, and you should still be able to voice your opinions, your concerns, or ask questions and things like that without having the pastor jump down your throat. So, like I said, there is a whole lot of drama still going on from this, and my godmother is definitely done with the whole situation. Like, she doesn't really want anything to do with this pastor anymore. And what I was going to say is, like, during that private meeting that was between the pastor and my godmother, the pastor brought up, like, me getting fired as being the reason why my godmother was so upset with her. And like I told my godmother, I'm a grown woman. Like, I'm not even angry about getting fired anymore. I just don't trust her. And so, like, for her to just assume that that is the reason, like, I mean, yeah, I do think you could have handled that whole situation better. But at the same time, why would me getting fired have anything to do with how she feels about you? Like, I just feel like it's not being handled in a grown-up, adult, professional way. So anyways, let me know your thoughts and what would you do in this situation. And yeah, if you have any topics you'd like me to discuss in the future, on any of my videos, please feel free to let me know. Comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please share them with me, and I will probably address them in a future video. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time.